Hey guys, Izzy here with DonnyFL and
Travis.
Hello. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
What do we got here, man?
We have the new PCP Kong Bigfoot unboxing, but we've already unboxed it for you. So it's a little tasking. Box is pretty big.
Yeah, I saw you fighting with that little crate.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's heavy. It's 97 pounds.
Yep.
It's a good size compressor.
Oh yeah.
But we're bringing this to you guys. It's going to be able to fill all your tanks.
All the way up to 100 cubic foot.
Pretty good. Yeah. So Izzy and I are going to walk you through on how to put it all together and get it operable and ready to run when you get it to your house.
Yes,
and what you need, because we are providing, when you purchase it, we provide this. You have to buy some other things that need to go with this to make this work.
That are highly recommended.
Highly.
So, where do you want to start?
All right, well first, when you first open it, this is going to be in the top of the box. It's your instruction manual.
Right there.
Going to need that. So that's going to be there. Then you have a bag of filters and breathers. Going to need those. Then you've got your fill hose and more filters. And a bunch of little, look like some fittings and some O-rings and Allen key
little rebuild
and
kits.
little rebuild kit.
Yeah.
Then you got a power cord, which you're going to need that. I recommend that don't run this off of an extension cord. Plug this into a wall outlet.
Yeah.
And it comes with a funnel. Believe it or not, we've offered a funnel. And that's it.
That's a nice funnel. That's a nice red.
Yeah, looks good. Matches the front.
Yeah. All right. So
we're going to fill her up, show you how to do it, and get all the close-ups and where you fill it, where you don't fill it. I'm sure there's a bunch of videos out there on how to fill up compressors that look similar to this, but this is ours, and this is how we want to bring it to you.
All right. You want to start with the cooling system first?
Sure, let's do it. All right. And I'm learning as he understands everything. I'm learning as we're doing this. So.
All right. So.
Cooling system.
There's a couple of things that we need. First of all, we need some distilled water and a coolant additive. You can get different coolant additives that'll work perfectly. You can get these off Amazon, your local auto parts store. The one I like using is Royal Purple. It's a proven product that I've used over the years on different kinds of compressors and custom compressor modifications I've done. This works really well for aluminum. Most of the components on this compressor head and the lines are all aluminum. So this is a perfect product for that. So there is instructions on the back on how to use it, how much to add to it. As you can see, we've already used it on another compressor. So we got distilled water, our coolant additive. This helps keep it cool a lot better than just straight water. And it keeps it from getting oxidized internally, breaking down the radiator and stuff prematurely. So this is actually helping you make your compressor last longer. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead.
Is this something very similar to antifreeze?
Not really.
Not really. Okay.
Not really. So antifreeze has a antifreeze additive which keeps the water from freezing in the cold temperatures. This does not have that. This actually makes the water slightly thinner, and it gives it that lubricant into the water pump as well. So it keeps everything clean in there. It keeps from bacteria from growing inside the cooling system. Believe it or not, it does happen if you just use straight water. If you put your finger in the radiator or whatever, it contaminates the cooling system, and it helps oxidization and rust happen a lot faster. So the purer the system is, the better it is for the compressor. Same thing for your vehicles out there. If you do this, it's better to not stick your fingers or any foreign objects in there because it contaminates the cooling system and it makes it go bad. So I say we get started on this.
All right, well I know that it says in this instruction manual when I read it here that don't overfill it.
Don't overfill it. So the reason that is when water heats up, it does expand a very slight bit and it creates a little bit of pressure. So you need a little bit of airspace in there to let that pressure build up and down. You don't want one of these lines building up pressure and possibly busting out and spilling all your coolant all over the place. It's not likely that it's going to happen with these because it doesn't get to the point as how like a normal traditional engine would, but you still don't want to overfill it. So we're going to go ahead and turn this cart with this side facing towards you guys. We're going to put this that way there. All right, so right here we got our radiator, and if you want to come over here real quick and get a close-up right here, there's a sticker behind this bar that says it's your fill line. So pretty much it's like right in between this bar here, but you'll see the sticker in the back. You don't want to go past that, and the reason is also is this cap it allows the tank to breathe a little bit, but if you tilt the compressor or you're transporting it and it tilts a little bit, you don't want that water level to go past that level and then spill out. So that actually keeps it from spilling if you're transporting it somewhere. So we're gonna go ahead and tilt this there.
So we won't use this to fill this full of water?
We could use that, but I'm gonna try something different.
Okay.
The only reason is you don't want to contaminate your oil with water. Obviously you guys know that oil and water don't mix very well. It'll contaminate either or. So if we were to use that on the cooling system, it would be fine, but then we'd get a little bit of water in the oil, and then it's gonna ruin the oil. And the oil that we're gonna be using is a little bit expensive, so you don't want to let that go to waste. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do, and you can do this somewhere else, I'm gonna tilt this back a little bit, so that actually gives me room to tilt this in here and pour the water in there. So I'm going to go ahead and take that cap off. Thank you, sir.
Welcome, welcome.
Very helpful. All right, so I'm going to go ahead.
When you're at home, you can use a 2x4.
Yes,
or
2x4
a
will
weight
work.
or something just to get it elevated a little bit.
Yeah, so you can tilt this back a little more and let that water flow right in. Look at that.
Boom, like he's done this before.
Look at that.
Probably gonna take that whole gallon, huh?
Yeah, I think we might need another gallon, maybe another half gallon.
I don't think we got that.
This should be good enough for now. All right,
And this one is ours.
Just tilt this back a little bit more again, just get all that water out of there. All right, so we ran out of water. We don't know exactly how much water this was gonna take, but there's a little bit. Don't let it go to waste. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and tilt this back down. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, we're
actually
inch,
probably about
maybe an inch.
Yeah, we're about an inch below the fill line.
So we're probably okay.
We'll be all right.
And that fill line is max fill, so
yeah,
we're in there.
We're good. All right, so this here, if you don't know what this is from a company called Royal Purple, and the product is called Purple Ice. It's a cooling system optimizer and conditioner, so it helps everything in your cooling system make everything cooler, so wherever it makes contact, like in the radiator and the pump, it'll help it out. It has a lot of properties in there. So this actually maximizes temperature reduction, fights corrosion and electrolysis and erosion. Like I just said earlier, it keeps everything from getting prematurely oxidized and clogged up internally. So for this here, it's let's see, directions. Make sure cooling system works properly and is free of blockage and corrosion. So this is a completely new system, so we don't have to worry about that. So it says use 1 ounce or 2 ounce per quart of coolant with antifreeze. We don't need antifreeze here. We're not going to be using this in freezing temperatures, so this by itself should be fine. Okay, bottled, filtered drinking water is recommended. Distilled water is not recommended. The only reason distilled water is not recommended for these is for automotive purposes. But for this setup here, where it's not going to achieve those high temperatures, distilled water is what we need for it. So it says replace annually or every 30,000 miles. I'm gonna
We're
say
going with hours, not miles here.
yeah. So I'm gonna say this stuff should last you for a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say if need be, you need to change this out about every 3 years. So right now, like I said, I've used this product before. I've used quite a bit of it. So right now we got 4 ounces left. So we need 2 ounces per gallon. So I'm just gonna put 2 ounces in. So I'm gonna go leave about that much left in there.
You want to tilt this back?
Nah, we should be fine.
Okay.
And many of you probably don't know why this part is cut out. Do you know why?
No.
Why?
It'll pour.
Yeah, you can tilt it a lot easier without spilling.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and tilt
It's like a
this
built-in
in there.
funnel.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that. All right. Perfect. Look at that.
Boom. Like he's done this before. We'll put the cap on.
So one thing, make sure you keep this out of reach of children. It looks very tasty. It looks like it's gonna taste like grapes. Please leave this out of reach of children. It's very poisonous. It's really bad for the body. Put it up somewhere. It smells very sweet. So please,
Does it?
put it away.
No, you got me curious.
Yeah.
Yes, it does smell very sweet. That's weird.
Yeah. So again, put it away out of reach. All right, we're gonna put that down there. All right, so now we got this here, and if you can, I don't know if you guys can tell, but you can see the additive settled at the bottom. And one thing I forgot to mention too, there's a drain cock right here. Make sure that this is actually closed and not lined along with the line, because you will spill everything out.
And before you add your chemical, make sure that it's not leaking.
Correct. So make sure it is going that way. So it's better to add the water now and waste a little bit of water than that stuff, because that stuff is a lot more expensive. I forgot to say that the additive costs anywhere between $10 to $15 depending on where you get it. All right, so now that we got that coolant on there, we're gonna go ahead and purge all the air out of the lines. We're not gonna run the compressor yet. So what we're gonna do, we already have a power cord set up here. And yes, we said no extension cords, but we actually made a custom one to where it's able to handle the current. So we don't have to worry about that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this here. So now we got power, that's plugged in over there. So if you wanna come over here, we got a few buttons here and switches. So we got one that says cooling system, and we have one that says compressor. What we're gonna do is we're gonna turn on the cooling system. So what that's gonna do is gonna turn on our pump, and it's gonna start circulating all the coolant through the head and everything. It's gonna be purging all the water out. Here, we'll go ahead and turn it around.
Yeah, you can already see water in it.
Yeah, so you can see
this all had this was all just open air, but you can see the air bubbles trapped in it here.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and turn it all the way over. All right, so here, I think that should give us a good picture of the water flow in there. All right,
there's air in here too. See?
So real quick, so this is your pump. Your water is going to come in from the pump, or from the reservoir into the pump. The pump is going to pump it out to the first stage of the piston head, and then it's going to flow over to the next head back here, and then this is going to go back into the radiator, and the radiator is going to fill up, and then it's going to go back up again into the reservoir. So it's a closed loop system. It is a aluminum radiator, and it does have 3 fans. It's very quiet actually with it on.
Can't even hear it.
Yeah, you can't even hear it because it's not even on yet. But we're gonna go ahead and kick it on. You guys should be able to see all that flowing going there. Check that out. So you're gonna see a bunch of bubbles coming out. Once that whole system is purged out of all the bubbles, your water level is going to drop a little bit. I'm gonna say you should be safe as long as you're not more than halfway below on the reservoir. You should be okay. That is a lot of coolant going through that radiator and through the heads and the hoses as well. So let's see. Yeah, we're not
Seems to be spitting it back in perfectly too.
Yeah. So that's flowing there. You'll still see a few bubbles come out here and there. If you wiggle it, you know, you might have a couple of bubbles that pop out. You know, you can flick some of the lines here. You'll see some of them that have like loose, or not loose, but trapped air, like in the little air pockets in the corners. But as you start using it, those air bubbles will come out of the system, go into the reservoir, and it's just going to be all coolant in the cooling system. So we should be good there. And yeah, I'm going to do this real quick. Just see. Oh, see? I just got a couple of bubbles out of there. Yeah, tilt it a little more, not too much, but that should be
look
good.
at them going.
Yeah. Don't want to tilt it too much to where you spill it out the other side. So we're going to call that good. As you keep using it, those bubbles are going to work their way out. So now that we're here, we can go ahead and turn that off. And so we're done with our cooling system. Pretty easy. Very straightforward. 2 ounces per gallon. We are going to need a little bit more, so I'm going to say probably about 2.5 ounces once you actually fill it up to where it needs to be. But if you only have 1 gallon, that should be fine. What we're going to do next is lubricating for the compressor itself.
Which is on this side.
Which is on this side, which, hey, it worked out pretty good.
Which is pretty good.
All right, so now
you are going to need the breather valve.
Yes. All right, so it does have a tag here that says, attention, please replace this 1 to breathing rod before compressor start. So what we're gonna do, there's a plug in here. We're gonna take this off, and this tag is gonna come off with it as well. So you can keep the little plug in case you need to transport it or something, you know, keep that from
good to have
spilling.
in case you need it for something else.
Yeah. You never know.
Lawn mowers, weed eaters,
yeah.
Chinese made 4-wheelers, they're all about the same size.
Yeah. All right, so what we're gonna do, we got our nice cool red funnel here. We're gonna put it in, and that's how pretty much we're gonna hold it right there. All right, so what we're actually gonna be talking about is a lubricant now, in which we got here. So this is also from Royal Purple. So they actually make some really good quality oil. This is synthetic oil for compressors only. You can use this on your shop compressors, like in your garage. If you really want to keep your compressors up and good, running for a long time, this is the stuff to put on there. This gallon here is about $80. The cheapest I've seen it is about $70. The price does fluctuate. I've seen it as expensive as $100. So what is so special about this is it's detergent free. So regular motor oil has detergents. It helps clean it inside. We don't want to remove all the greases and lubricants inside the bearings and stuff like that. We want to keep them as lubricated as much as possible. We're not running a combustible engine that's creating a lot of carbon buildup and stuff like that, so we don't need the detergents in there. So this is detergent free oil. There is other versions of this that you could buy for compressors, but this is the best stuff that I've used as well, and I don't know how long. If you do want to look for something else, just tell them that you want compressor oil that has no detergents in it. So
if you can't find this.
If you can't find this. This is available on Amazon as well if you want to make it a little bit easier. And they do sell this in quarts, so you don't need to buy it in gallons. I just buy the gallons because I use it a lot.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and get started on that.
Now, how often should you change that?
So this stuff here is rated for 100,000 hours of use. So pretty much you really don't need to change it at all. Unless you start seeing the oil turn foggy, then you might want to look into it. But other than that, this oil is gonna stay pretty clear. It is purple. It's clear purple. You'll see when we pour it in there. But if you see any other color than that clear purple, that means you might want to look into it. And I'll show you guys a little trick as well as we go. So we're gonna go ahead and put that funnel there, and thank you. And let's have you close up right here real quick. So I want to show you something here. So we got this label here, and it shows you how the little sight glass looks right there. You see that red dot there? So you want the oil to be just slightly above that red dot, and you can see that black line up there. That's where you want your oil to be. You don't want to overfill it. If you overfill it again, the oil is going to get into places where it doesn't need to be. It's a splash lubricated system. So what it means is as the crank is turning, it's splashing everything in there. If it's too high, it's not going to be able to efficiently splash and coat the parts in there efficiently, because it's not going to have that splashing feature. It's just going to dunk in there and not going to splash out. So that's where we're going to go for, is just right above that red line. All right. Look at that.
Pretty. Ooh, that's pretty purple.
Yeah.
And you don't want to drink that either.
Yes, you don't want to drink this either. It doesn't smell good, but it looks like it would taste good. It looks like a little tiny bit more. Keep an eye out for me.
Whoop.
There we go.
Perfect. All right, so.
And last time it settled too, so.
Yeah.
And once you do, if you do overfill it just ever so slightly, like this shows just a little bit, what you can do is when you turn it on, that oil is going to go someplace.
Yep, exactly. So once we run that compressor, and that level may drop a little bit. That's just because it's getting spread out where it needs to be. So your level might drop a little bit. All right,
so keep an eye on that.
Yeah, so we're gonna put this off to the side. But so this is your breather. It does have a check valve inside. This needs to actually rattle. So if you get it and you're wondering why is it rattling, it keeps an excess amount of air to breathe in, but it allows the air to breathe out in case it gets too much air in the crank shaft here. It allows it to breathe in and out, because when you heat up a little bit, it does create pressure. It allows it pressure to ventilate out. So once you're done with that, there is going to be an O-ring right there. What I do recommend is if you just roll it off the threads just slightly, there's going to be a little bit of oil there. And just a little bit of oil, just help it seal. There you go. And you can put this either in front or in the back of that cooling line. It really doesn't matter. And this is not going to be super tight. This is just going to be snugged on there to where that O-ring makes contact with the surface here. And you're going to feel it right away. It just stops. Well, not stop, but you feel that slight resistance. So now that we got that, we have oil in our system. One thing that I'm going to recommend you don't have to do, but I do it because it helps me out. So when you're running an engine, these are cast iron heads on here. So there is going to be a break-in period where we're going to have metal shavings that are going to be built up inside the system. Get a magnet and stick it on this drain plug right here, and what that'll do, any flakes that come off that cylinder head, it'll flow in the oil and it'll get stuck on the drain plug. So when you actually go to remove it and drain out the oil, all those flakes are going to come out right there, and it's not going to stay in the system next time you go do an oil change. That's not in the instructions. That's just one of my recommendations that I do for any shop compressors and stuff like that. I put a magnet in. It does work.
No, it does, because I have them both on my little truck and my van.
Yeah, so we got that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn this over that way. We're dancing with a cart here. All right, are we good in the... All right, so now, before we actually start the compressor, we can start it without plugging this in, but I kind of don't want to... well, the little thing is not in there yet, so we're going to go ahead and put that on there. So there should be a little bag there. And while you're at it, if you give me those drain butterflies...
Oh, yeah,
those little things.
These guys here.
Yep. All right.
Need the phosphor fitting.
So these are your bleeder valves. These are to release the pressure from the system while you're filling. You do have a first and a second stage bleeders. So these ones, you put them in, and you're not going to over tighten them. You just need to snug them up just to where they stop, leaking out air when the system is under pressure. So I'm just gonna snug them up very lightly for now. All right, thank you, sir.
Because that one doesn't have a male. Doesn't have a male adapter.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's the actual hose.
Yeah. All right. So,
do we want to put Teflon on that?
We could. It ain't gonna hurt, but I do need these little white things. Well, just one. All right. So what I did is we have these little Delrin pucks in here. So you're gonna put one of those in here, and I'll pull it out just so you can see it. So you see it, it's right there. And that's actually gonna mate with this surface and the back surface, and that's what's gonna create the seal on there. If you wanna put a little bit of Teflon tape here, it's not gonna hurt anything. Just make sure that it does not go into this hole. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on here and screw it in. All right. And this is a 9/16 wrench. You can also use a 14 millimeter for us metric people in the UK, right? Europe. Sorry guys. Yeah, all right, so this, you just wanna snug it up and then just go about just to where it's snug. You don't wanna crank it down too much. If it does leak out, then you snug it down a little bit further. Check it with soapy water just to make sure all is good. All right, so now that we got that, we can actually run the compressor to get that lubricant going.
But they say to start the compressor, you start the lubricant, or you start the cooling system first, correct?
I do recommend starting the cooling system because it will create friction inside, which is going to create the heat. So we want to keep the system as cool as possible. So I do recommend running that cooling system and then starting the compressor. So if you want to do the honors, sir.
Sure, I'll do it.
All right. There we go. So now we're actually going to be building up pressure shortly.
There it goes. We'll take it all the way to 4,500?
Yeah, we can do that. Test it out while we're at it.
Yeah.
And literally we just pulled this out of the crate too, so this is actually not that loud.
Not at all.
It's a lot louder because of the car itself. Everything's vibrating on there. Excuse me. But you know, it's not bad.
Not at all. I definitely would have thought it would be louder than this.
Yeah.
I mean, we can carry some conversation on.
Yeah. Second now. All right, so it stopped, and there you go. Snug that down. Snug that down. Like I said, you might find leaks here and there. Snug these down a little further.
Boom, just like that.
There you go.
Look at that.
All right. So,
what is this switch on for?
Honestly, I don't know. That's just on there.
But it was off.
Yeah, it doesn't do nothing. I think it's just an extra switch that the company put in there for some reason.
And at what time do you want to turn the cooling system on?
So after the system runs, and you can feel this thing. Feel it. It's a little warm. So you want to leave it. You want to leave that cooling system running for about 5 to 10 minutes after.
Look at the oil level now. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Might need a little bit more.
Yeah. It'll be all right.
It's kind of right at the top though. I think we're good.
Yeah. So you want to leave the cooling system on for about 5 to 10 minutes to let the whole system cool down again, and let it do its thing. If you turn it off real quick, you know, you put a lot of stress on the compressor. It just sits there hot, and if you go to use it next time, it's going to be hot. You want it to be as cool as possible, and that is another reason why I recommend that oil there, because it creates a lot less friction in the compressor, allowing it to run a lot cooler. Along with that cooling additive, hand in hand, they work both together. So good coolant and good lubricant is key on anything like this. So we're gonna go ahead and decompress this here. So one thing I do want to show you guys here is we got this solenoid here, and this solenoid does collect water, so it allows the water to come out right here. So this is your first stage of moisture removal. So all the pressure comes in here and it goes straight down. It goes into the solenoid, and at a predetermined time, I think it's like every 10 minutes of it running, it purges out. So it purges water out. So you don't want to have this on somewhere where there's carpet or any wood flooring or anything that's going to get damaged easily. So, you know, just be mindful where you guys put this at. Don't want to stain your guys' furniture, tables, and stuff like that. But yeah, that will purge at I think it's 10 minutes. So you can release the pressure off the second stage. So it does have a valve up here. So I'm going to go ahead and release this pressure. Alright, and then I'm just going to back this out just to get the additional pressure out. Alright, so once you can see that they turn freely like that, you should be okay to close it down. And again, these don't need to be super tight, just snug, and they won't leak out. One other thing that we do have here is a pressure relief valve. So if this compressor, let's say you accidentally bump the gauge to above 4,500 psi, this pressure relief valve will open up once it reaches that pressure, and it'll keep it from overfilling. The compressor will keep running. So one thing I do recommend is make sure that you guys make sure that gauge is where you need it to be. Because it does have that safety feature. You don't want to destroy your compressor prematurely. So we're gonna go ahead and get that up here, and let me show you something else. So this compressor, this doesn't come with it. This is for one of our other compressors.
That's for the little foot.
Yeah. But yeah, so we don't need that because this one has its own filtering system. It does have filtering media and stuff like that. So if you're wondering what this is actually the intake for the compressor. This is where the air is drawn in and then taken into the heads and then out and compressed into your air tanks. It does have some filtering media that removes a lot of the moisture on there. You just remove this little cap. You can take the whole thing out, dump out the little beads in there, and you've got more of them in here. So we actually have quite a bit. So we got some charcoal, we got some incandescent, right? Incandescent beads. So these actually soak up a lot of moisture. If you do that, make sure you wear gloves because it'll dry out your hands. And I don't know if this is bad for you. I highly doubt it, but I do know. Good. Yeah, I do know that if this gets wet, it does create some sort of acid. So we don't want to put that on your hands. And then we have another moisture filter here. That's not for us.
Yeah, that's for this.
Oh, it is?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. There it is. All right. So this here would go on your first stage. And then your second stage would be your additional carbon or charcoal powder stuff, and then your incandescent moisture removal up here. And you'll see it in there. There's a little sleeve in there. You guys can do it. If you start noticing an excess amount of moisture coming out from this right here or from your second stage right here, then it's probably a good idea to get that changed out. But yeah, so that's our Bigfoot compressor. That feels pretty good. Now you can touch it without even worrying about getting burned. So there you go, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. We'll turn it around slowly so you guys can check it out. Oh yeah, look at that. That's the butt. So one thing that I didn't mention actually is the radiator here. Look at that big radiator. So this radiator actually draws the air from this side and brings it out this way. So instead of pulling the cold air this way and blowing hot air in, it's actually designed to blow the hot air out this way. One thing that I will let you know is make sure that nothing gets bumped into the radiator. You will damage these fins. If you guys want to protect it even further, they do sell screens that you can add on here to protect that from getting damaged, because these little lines right here is actually what's carrying your coolant, each one of those little lines. But yeah, that's that. And we'll turn this over again. And yeah, we're dead on right above that red line there, or red dot. So we're good.
It works. Now it's time to put this thing to the test.
Yeah. Let's say we go kill iguanas.
I was thinking pigeons in Wisconsin.
Oh, we can do that too. PJ,
We're on our way.
we're on our way.